Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Duluth, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, Jacksonville, Florida, Tempe, Arizona, and Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. So first it was the skin cancer, then it was cholesterol. Now it's greenhouse gases in cows. I was always told that cows contribute more to the global warming than anything because of factory farming. And that's why you got to stop eating meat. Or one of the big reasons is because of that. Now, I think, if you can, you should stop eating meat just because it's cruel to the animals. And somebody said something about as long as we have slaughterhouse. Who was it, the famous person who said as long as we have slaughterhouses, we'll always have wars?
Really?
Yeah, I heard that. But anyway.
Sounds like some hippie bullshit to me.
But anyway, when it comes to greenhouse gases, you have emissions and capture. Animals produce CO2, but the soil and plants that grow in it can capture CO2. Erickson's team has found that capture, helped out by grazing and manure, can far outweigh the emissions from cattle.
Oh, you don't say.
Where's the... Oh, okay, so that's the... I got to find the video now. Let me find the video.
Remember the NASA thing?
Omaha's working on a plan.
Yeah.
What's that? Here we go.
And to tackle climate change. And leaders are asking for community input. The city's created a website for the Omaha Climate Action and Resilience Plan, and it includes a survey. The hope is it'll gather data and public opinion about climate change, its impacts, and what could be included in the plan. The final plan will guide actions to find it all at OMU into.
In the conversation around climate change, these cows behind me have been getting a lot of flack for their farts lately. I'm Alex Whitney for 3 News Now, and we reached out to researchers to see if cattle production really does play into climate change. There has been a lot of talk lately about cows and the role that their flatulence plays in climate change, but many producers will tell you that's a load of bull.
Any cattle producer's probably going to smirk when they hear that as far as the methane released by cows affecting global warming.
Research into cattle emissions has mostly focused on the animals themselves, but new research happening at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln is focusing on the pastures where cattle graze and the role that it can play in carbon capture.
They've not accounted for the capture part, they've only accounted for methane being lost, and everything else is at balance. Turns out that's not really true.
When it comes to greenhouse gases, you have emissions and capture. Animals emit carbon, or CO2, but the soil and plants that grow in it can capture CO2. And Erickson's team has found that capture, helped out by cattle grazing and manure, can far outweigh the emissions from cattle.
With adequate precipitation, we're actually seeing that grasslands can take up more CO2 or more carbon in the soil and the plants that offsets the CO2 that cattle are producing, but also offsets the methane.
Erickson and Schweitzer both hope this research won't just correct assumptions about ag's role in climate change, but also help remind folks that ag producers care about the climate they work in. Without a healthy climate, they go out of business.
Without a stable environment, we can't produce good cattle and we can't produce good crops. So I do think we need to be good stewards of the land, but I think the finger coming at cattle producers helping really increase global warming is a statement that needs to be looked at with a great assault.
Outside of Milford, Alex Whitney, 3 News Now.
So what made you laugh?
It's just like everything's a COVID mask.
Everything's a COVID mask.
Like, if you still believe in it, and I used to really like people that were like,
I was 100%. I was in.
You know why? Because all the oil companies said that it was were like, it's not real, and I'm like, well, would I trust the oil company? And as soon as that, and it wasn't as soon as that, but I started to notice the switch where oil companies are telling me it's my fault. Yeah, it is real, and you're doing it. Why are you doing stuff? And I'm like, wait a minute, you just told me Chicken Little. I just saw a Chicken Little drawing for the last 10 years. Now it's on me. And then Nord Stream 2, the largest methane release, larger than all the cattle. If it were so dangerous, they wouldn't have blown up that pipeline. Also, why just methane? What about nitrogen? I thought that's a deadly gas, and that's why all the farmers in Europe had to be put out of business. You don't hear nothing about nitrogen. Oh, it's all bullshit. The whole thing's bullshit.
So I saw the guy who was the founding member of the Green Party in Europe. I saw a video. I should have it. I'll again. I'm very discombobulated this week trying to do a show this way, but I would have gotten it had I been in my studio. But there was a video of this guy, and doesn't go along with the climate change narrative. The guy who founded the Green Party in Europe, saying that he's not good, that, but when they talk about carbon, we're at one of the lowest points for carbon in the atmosphere in the history of the world. And that's just what he said. I should play the video. I shouldn't try to remember what
they say it's the biggest hoax in history, but I don't think it is. There's bigger hoaxes, believe it or not, but it's pretty big nonsense. And it's a bunch of very rich oligarchs got together. All this same nonsense. That's why Kamala, her stupid saying, which is a Marxist saying, by the way, the thing she's saying.
What can be unburdened by what?
Yes, that's the whole philosophy is we're going to get rid of Chairman Mao. That was his big thing. They'll get rid of the four olds.
Really?
It's just reworded. I can't believe she actually said that. Like, because you would think that would be too on the nose, but they are saying it because they're what's called Fabian socialists, and somebody called it out the live show. They want privatized communism, the worst of every world. We're going to get all the worst parts. Yeah.
That's what Theo Vaughn said to Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders said that's a very astute observation. That's a great way to put it.
That's what it is. So we're in a feudal society now. Right now is a feudal society, and what was Russia? A feudal society. They were going to move into that shitty ass Soviet style communism that I wouldn't want to live under. And I know anti-communists talk bad about it, but I wouldn't have lived there, and it sucked and collapsed.
So
they're going to give us shit. Yeah.
I was talking to a communist yesterday at that pro-Palestine rally, and apparently he goes, "Oh, we just had a founding of our party." I'm like, "Oh, Jackson, Hinkle, and Haas." They're like, "No, it's different." I'm like, "You guys all can't. Even the communists can't come together." Even the communists, you have to have your own separate silos. It seems crazy, but they do.
Yeah, because they're overeducated little twits. And that's why I'm sick of hearing people argue about what ism is going to be the one that works. Clearly, you can't write something down on paper that's going to work out. So you have to be able to move and adjust and do what has to be done when it needs to be done, rather than, well, this is it. Because all you're going to get at the end of the day with all these systems is the same goddamn thing. A few fucking rich people at the very tippy top who control everything and then try to press down on you to keep their power. And I don't know, you point out the government where they're not doing that. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I asked him, I said, what does the economy look like in your world? If you could, a magic wand, what would it look like? And he said, well, first thing we'd do is we'd nationalize the Fortune 500 companies. And I'm like, what? I don't, well, that's all the biggest companies, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm for nationalizing like oil and gas.
Yeah. A lot of prosperous countries do that.
Yes. I don't understand why we give all that money away to Exxon and Shell, and
because those are the men who built America. If you saw the History Channel documentary, Rockefeller, Carnegie, etc. So,
I don't think Professor Richard Wolff, I don't know what when we talk, he just talks about democracy at work, meaning that you have co-ops. By the way, there are co-ops in America. Somebody told me that there's a grocery store chain that's co-ops.
The state bank's the big thing. Yeah, he said that I'd never heard of the state
bank.
Yeah, that has never collapsed. And even though it's in a Republican area, they will never get rid of it because they don't get screwed by that bank. But I never heard about it till a commie brought it up. The only working bank in America that hasn't had a problem is a state bank. And I never even knew we had that. So that's why I'll hear anybody out, man, whether I agree with their philosophy or not. I'll hear you out because that's a very good idea, that state bank, I think.
I'm 100% for the state bank.
Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Duluth, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, Jacksonville, Florida, Tempe, Arizona, and Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.